Jesus stood in their midst and said to them, "Peace be with you." I think no matter what generation you belong to, whether you're a grandfather or grandmother, or whether you're one of the school kids here among us, I think everybody's familiar with this phrase, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." I think that phrase is still around. And this Sunday especially, those words are more true than ever. Picture is worth 1,000 words. Can you and I imagine the resurrection? When Jesus appears to the disciples and says, "Peace be with you." We can only imagine what that must have looked like and what that must have felt like. Today we celebrate the divine mercy of Jesus, and the image speaks most powerfully to us. We don't have to wonder what the risen Jesus looked like. In the Catholic Church, we have an image from him to us. Twice in the history of the Church, the risen Jesus appeared to nuns. In the 1600s, to Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, and he said, "What you have seen, I want you to find a painter and have him paint your vision and be spread throughout the whole Catholic Church." And what came of that was the Sacred Heart of Jesus, this image of the risen Christ showing his heart that burns for love of you and for me to the whole world. And then later, fast forward to the 1900s, before World War II, and Jesus again appears to a nun, but this time by the name of Sister Faustina Kowalska in Poland. And he appears to her at a convent, and the image just below me here in front of us, that's what she saw. That's the image of Jesus both crucified and risen. You notice that after the resurrection, when we look at this image, the wounds from the crucifixion are still there. They didn't disappear. We can learn so much from this image, and that's the first thing that we learn. If we're to see the risen Christ, that image, we see that his wounds are still there, the nail marks in the hands and the feet, and that his heart has been pierced by the soldier. His heart is still pierced. The other thing we learn is that light shines forth from his wounds. So yes, he's still the crucified Christ, but it's also the risen Christ. He's both at the same time. His wounds are still there, and his body is real. It's not a ghost. It's his real body that's still wounded and that was crucified. But now there is light shining forth from those wounds. Now there is water and blood coming out of his heart. The water of baptism and the blood of the Blessed Sacrament, the Eucharist. There is light coming from his wounded and pierced heart. And of course, that's a beautiful contrast. Jesus, there's light, the light and the glory of the resurrection shining forth. It's the same body that was crucified, but it's been changed to one of glory and light. And then in the background, you see darkness. His light shines in the darkness of our lives, in the darkness of our world. And notice his hands. They're not pointing to judge, the world that had just crucified him a few days earlier on Good Friday. Instead, his hands are extended. One hand, showing his heart, his love for us, and the other hand inviting us to come close to his light, to experience the resurrection, to unite our suffering. His wounds are still there. To unite our sufferings, our struggles with his, so that the resurrection may transform our sufferings. Of course, everybody knows that tomorrow will be a special day. We'll have the solar eclipse, and we'll all be looking up in the sky, probably. I will, hopefully wearing your shades. But my brothers and sisters, today is even more special than tomorrow. And we don't have to hurt our necks looking up. We only need to look at the image of Christ before us. And at 3 p.m. here at the church, and throughout the whole Catholic Church, by decree of Pope John Paul II, after the apparition of the Divine Mercy, Pope John Paul II decreed that throughout the whole world, the Catholic Church would celebrate the Divine Mercy that goes with the image and with the prayers that go with it. And so here at 3 p.m. and everywhere in the Catholic Church, the choir will lead us to the Divine Mercy Chaplet. We'll have this image before us, the hour that Christ was crucified, that the gates of heaven unlocked and were open for us. And so even more than the sky being darkened, the gates of heaven will unlock for us and be open at 3 p.m. And there'll be graces flowing from heaven to our hearts, just as we see in the image. And not only are we called to receive His mercy, but we're called as a people of the resurrection of Easter to praise God's goodness and mercy, to praise His goodness. And that's what the Divine Mercy Chaplet is all about. And so we're going to be here with the image. We're going to be looking at Him, look at us, extending His mercy to us. And with the chaplet, we're going to be praising His goodness. And everyone's invited. I hope to see you here, 3 p.m. later today, as we have the hour of mercy. The greatest thing that we can receive and the greatest thing that we can celebrate, that we may receive God's love into our hearts.